Good morning, it's Alicia Ford with ERA Troy Realtors, and thank you for tuning in to our final part of the Home Buyer Series. So, of course, what are we talking about today? We're talking about closing day, and I am so excited. We've been through the entire process. We've been through negotiations, repairs, appraisal, and now it's time to close on your property. I'm so excited, and I hope you are too. So, a couple of things that I want to mention before you get to closing is make sure you transfer your utilities. I usually tell my buyers to go ahead and have it transferred on closing day, to use that date of closing to have the utilities transferred into your name so that you don't have a problem with a delay in service. Okay, and also before we get to closing, I like to do your final walkthrough of the property and check the property to make sure it meets what you're expecting, and that if there was any repairs that we negotiated with the seller, that those things have been done. And I like to do mine 1 to 2 days before we close. Some agents like to do it the same day of closing. The reason why I don't like to do it on the day of closing is if we find anything wrong or any little issue that needs to be addressed with the seller, it doesn't give us time to address it. So if we do it 1 or 2 days before, then we have time to go to the seller and say, hey, I thought you guys were leaving us the refrigerator, or whatever the concern may be. And we have time to address it without delaying your closing. Okay, so that's the whole thing, is to try not to have to delay closing. All right, so now it's closing day. So what are a couple of things that I want to point out on closing day for you? Number one, you're probably going to be a little bit nervous, and that is fine. Okay, so arrive about 15 minutes early if you can, so that you can get settled, relaxed. I'm going to be there. Sometimes your lender might come, which is great. But I will be there and make sure everything flows nicely for you. And if there's anything that I can do to help, I'll be doing it at that point. All right, so arrive a little bit early. 10 to 15 minutes would be great. Okay, bring valid ID. I know that sounds elementary, but sometimes people get in a rush and they forget to bring their ID. Or they bring their ID and it's expired. We can't use an expired ID when you're closing. So make sure your identification, you have it and that it's valid. All right, bring usable funds to closing. Okay, you cannot bring cash to closing, and you cannot use a personal check for closing. Now, we've used a personal check probably earlier in the transaction with your earnest money and option fee. Personal checks were okay, but a personal check is not okay, and cash is not okay at closing. Okay, so what we need to do is have a certified cashier's check from your bank, or we want to set up a bank wire directly from your bank to the escrow officer, okay, to the title company. And the title company will send you very specific wiring instructions. Make sure that you follow those instructions to the T, because we do not want your funds to end up in the wrong place. So there has been security issues, and the title companies are getting very, very strict on their instructions for wiring funds. And if you should need to change it, you probably will have to call them personally, or maybe even go to the title company to change your wiring instructions, because we do not want your emails to be hacked and somebody changes the wire account and your funds go to the wrong person. So unfortunately, cyber theft is real, and those things have happened. So the title companies are getting very strict because we want to protect you. Okay, so it may seem like a little bit of an inconvenience, but trust me, it's for your own protection. All right, awesome. So be ready to sign a lot of forms. So make sure you're stretching that hand out and doing some hand exercises. Be ready to sign a lot of forms. Prepare for about an hour for closing. It may be a little bit less or a little bit more, but probably about an hour is the normal closing time for you to sign everything. And then once you're done signing everything, the only other thing we'll be waiting for is for your loan to fund. Now, once your loan actually funds, that is when the property is actually your property and that you may enter that property. We usually ask you to wait until we have funding before you enter the property. So usually after you sign all of your paperwork, It will take maybe about 2 to 3 hours sometimes before your loan actually funds. So that means the buyer's loan is now going to be put into place and everybody has gotten paid off. The seller has gotten paid off their portion. All the funds go to where they need to go. So that's what funding means. So once your loan has funded, now it's actually your property. You can enter the property and enjoy. So it's been an exciting adventure, I'm sure. Emotional roller coaster, it always is. But we're excited and we're happy to help you get that next home. And I'm so glad that you're working with me, Alicia Keys, and I'm so excited to give you the keys to your next home.